the Labour Party seems to be bent on the protest action because they made that quite clear last week. They will be, and they've been conducting a series of town hall meetings all over the island and so on. So, what concern does the government have about that protest action in terms of the project going ahead and so on? And at what point will the government go ahead despite whatever protest action is taken?
Well, first of all, so let's really be clear what's moving ahead with the project. As I indicated to St. Lucians, the only part of the project that we have detailed drawings for, and that drawings have been submitted to the DCA, has been for the horse racing track. So approval was given to prepare the site and to put a site office, and pending now the final outcome of the EIA. The EIA, in my mind, and I'm not a technical person, is not an overly complicated EIA, because you really had cows there before, and you're really substituting the cows with the horses. And when you physically look at what's being proposed to be built there, it's not really a big, but that's the role of the DCA. And I think it's also important to understand the process that goes through. So when the plans are submitted to the DCA and an EIA is required, what happens is that the plans are sent, the proposed plans are sent to what we call referral agencies. So National Trust, as an example, is one of the referral agencies. Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Housing, Ministry of Health, all these different entities, forestry, all these are what we call referral agencies in our process. They then now write back and recommend what they would like to see included in the EIA. The DCA then assesses those things and puts together what we call a terms of reference for the EIA, and that is then sent back to the developer. The developer then conducts the EIA based on those terms of reference. Once that document then is completed, that document then is sent now to the different referral agencies for their input, and then it now becomes part of the approval process for the DCA. So the DCA board then finally sits down, looks at all the input from all the referral agencies, and then determines whether it's going to approve the project or not approve the project, and if it's approving the project, under what conditions they're approving the project. Okay? So the only part that has actually taken place right now has been the horse racing track. My government had a decision to make. So when it came to the Plan B, which includes the causeway, whether in fact we should have maintained that information internally, gone through that exact same process, which means that there would have been a likelihood that that information would have been leaked, and the government would have been painted as trying to hide things, even though we were going through the process. So we said, given what has been taking place, and given what my mantra and my government's mantra has been, is that we've now made public what the proposal is. And it's simply a proposal. So the developer has said, on initial analysis, given the technology that's available and what they know, they believe that this is feasible. Okay? There are obviously a couple of critical concerns that he himself highlighted in the presentation. You have your marine life, and then you have the animals that are habitat is Marie Island itself. Okay? So they're now bringing in experts to give us the scientific approach to how do we deal with that. If in fact it can be done, that will then be part of the EIA. So they will do their own initial assessment. They will then submit their drawings based on their findings. The same referral agencies will be requested once more to be part of the process. And then the exact same process that took place for the horse racing track will take place for this development. Okay? The only caveat that I have placed on this entire process to say is we don't have time. So what I'm going to do is impose some very strict timelines in order for people to participate. Because what we have seen in the past is that some of the referral agencies who believe that they're outside of the economic development realm of the country deliberately delay submitting the information in hoping to frustrate it. I'm saying to everybody in advance that that's not going to work. Okay? But what we do want is we want everybody and nobody to be excluded from participating once they're willing to participate in a very fair way. So with the DSH project, I am absolutely confused, as I believe many people are, as to exactly what it is that the Labour Party is protesting. I have no idea. So when they keep talking about renegotiating the deal, what is it? What part of the deal do they want renegotiated? We've indicated that the lease side of the project has been restricted to the horse racing track. And the other thing that was to be leased was space inside of the mangrove to build a museum. All the other land that is being discussed is agreed to be sold at between $60,000 US an acre to $90,000 US an acre. Right? Which is substantially more money than the government had done on its two previous deals in the same area. So Black Bay and Canals. Right? Substantially more than what they had agreed to, of which there was no discussion. So I don't remember once the Labour Party coming to us in opposition and saying, days before the election, you know, you might win, and therefore we would like you to be part of this conversation. So in one case, it was 3 days before the election, the government entered into a contract, signed the contract with no out clause. All right? So again, I'm confused when they talk about they want to participate in this process. If I was to go by their protocol that they have established, even the dialogue that we've had would not be there. But I don't agree with what they've done in the past, and I'm certainly not going to prescribe that moving forward. So I'm confused as to what part. All the pieces of land that have been identified, as I've indicated, have been identified for development by both political parties over the last 20 years. So Il Pirata, there's nobody living there. There's nobody to be relocated. And everybody has clearly identified that that would be an ideal place to be able to put the marina. In addition to the marina, we're proposing to put the casino, we're putting 2 hotels, and we're also putting a real estate development. Okay? With the idea of now enhancing the water that's coming through that area to be able to put a water treatment plant to improve the quality of water going into that area and stopping the flooding that takes place there. That's all part of the overall development. The second area is Point Sab, which is in front of between Bruceville and the ocean by Moule Chic. That has always been identified as an area for a hotel. There is nobody living on that piece of land. In fact, there are some people who are squatting, and they have never been given the normalization of ownership in that area. And we've said, if in fact that the developer is going to be using any of that land, we would develop a housing scheme to be able to replace those lands and give people their proper title to the land in what we think is an improved area. But we have not gotten to that yet. So let's make that very clear. Sandy Beach, which is an issue. Okay? We've repeated, and hopefully people have seen in the drawings, Sandy Beach is to remain a national park. And that the goal of the government was to make sure that we put in proper facilities to support that. Now let's look at it. In the last couple of weeks, a barrier has gone up in front of Sandy Beach. And I hear people saying and making accusations that we've gone in to develop, but I'm glad to see that the National Trust on 2 occasions have put out information to say they are the ones who've put that up, because what has happened? That the use of the beach area, particularly by vehicles, is making it the habitat more vulnerable. And that's exactly what we've been saying, is we don't believe there should be any development on Sandy Beach. Okay? And we believe it should remain an entirely public area. If anything, what we should be doing is putting in comfort stations. We should put in some small goal facilities, some volleyball stuff, some barbecue pits that people can enjoy it. And that's what the plan calls for. The new component to this project, which is the causeway, is land that doesn't exist. And as everybody can see, that is where they've proposed to put the hotel developments. And that is subject now to a full analysis. And using Mr. Aking's words, to be able to protect and enhance, which is the experience that he had when he did a similar project in Dubai, which he's also done in other developments in Singapore and also in Malaysia, where they've taken environmental areas and actually strengthened them and made them better than they were before, encompassing development. Okay? The next part of this is really the Dolphin Park. And again, I'm confused. I hear everybody accusing the government of all kinds of things. The developer went to whom? The developer went to National Trust and made his application to National Trust. I've lobbied nobody on the council, including the government's 2 representatives. I've had 0 conversation. I've tried to influence no one. They've made their presentation to the council, and then they also were asked to make a presentation to the membership. And on record again, I'm extremely disappointed in how investors were dealt with. All they were doing was making a request. The level of abusiveness that took place at that meeting is unbecoming and disrespectful, particularly in an environment in which we're trying to attract investors here. I'm also saying that we need to stop this emotional argument. Give us the facts. So Mr. Tulsi went on record and made certain allegations of which they are false. And I'm even further disappointed that the person of his standing and bestowed the level of trust by the public that he has been, that he chose to lie to the extent he did. And I'm asking him to retract those statements. Once the application is made to the Pigeon Island group, it's for them to come back and to tell us what they think. Once they've approved the process, if they approve the process, it still has to go to the DCA and goes through the whole process. Nobody's looking to bypass anything. But I would say to the National Trust, I am also going to measure their response based on historically. So, the former government had, as far back as 2014, made public that they were going to do a Dolphin Park at Anjabet. The trust had no position on it, said nothing. Or I've seen nothing where they've made any comments on it. We have a situation where St. Lucia has a long-standing policy as it pertains to whaling, of which both governments have supported that position for over 40 years. And we also have the unfortunate situation where St. Lucians still eat blackfish. And I know of no program that the National Trust has in order to abate that. I don't know of any educational programs, any awareness campaigns. I know of nothing that is out there. So all of a sudden, to take this hardline position that not only do we not want it to take place on Pigeon Island, but we don't want it to be anywhere in the country, okay, in my mind, is irresponsible and subjective, and one has to start questioning what is the real cause behind this thing. But government has not been involved in the process, will remain out of the process, and allow the due process to take place. And I'm encouraging the National Trust to do the same thing. It is a referral agency. It has been bestowed a huge honor by the people of this country to participate in our development process, to specifically look at the environment and conservation. But we see all around the world that environmental concerns and also conservation concerns can coexist with development.
I have 2 questions actually. Amidst all this criticism and protest action and whatever and so forth, how confident are you in the project and the come around of the St. Lucian public? And number 2, the Viewfort, or some of the Viewfort citizens have expressed that they feel too much of their land or so forth would be owned by foreigners, and question what is left, what would be left for the generations to come. So your sentiments?
Well, I've only heard that from concerned citizens. And concerned citizens, let's be very clear, because we live on a small island, is a mouthpiece of the Labour Party. Okay? Categorically. A Labour Party that was in government for 15 years, in which their political leader was also the Prime Minister, the Minister of Economic Development. And he also happened to be the representative from Vieux-Fort South. I heard the chairman of the Labour Party, Sir Julian Hunt, say that from the time he heard about the Dolphin Park, that he couldn't sleep. Am I right? I would say to him, sir, that for us on United Workers' Party, we have not been sleeping for years because of how the Labour Party has managed this economy. The level of unemployment. The fact is I'm going through a budget process right now in which we have absolutely no fiscal space. And the level of borrowing that they have and the vulnerable position they've put us in. And what is the impact of all that? Because those are just words. When I say the country's broke, or if I say that we're in a worse position, how does it translate down to the average person on the road? That's what we look at. It translates in that the education system has not been able to keep pace with the rest of the world. It translates that we have a healthcare system that's grossly inadequate. It translates in that the infrastructure of the country is weakening, and therefore the opportunity for people to push themselves forward has been undermined. And so more importantly, the result of it is that the poor people in this country have become poorer. And they have no choice. That is what they've been left with. So that is what we have lost sleep over. Okay? And he's a hypocrite because he is chairman of a party that approved the same Dolphin Park. So this is where we now have to separate what is political rhetoric from what is the reality on the ground. And the feedback that we're getting on the ground is that there are people who clearly have environmental concerns. They have people who have some concerns in terms of the size of the project. But when you sit down with them and they start getting what the facts are all encouraging it. And the purpose of what we're doing is to have come to the people of St. Lucia way before the decision is made, to allow people to participate in that process. That's what we've said. And you're not going to get unanimity. We didn't get unanimity on elections. Very difficult to get unanimity. The key is, do we get buy-in? Ultimately, at the end of the day, United Workers' Party was elected at the last elections for change. And specifically, we said we are going to build a new St. Lucia.